Bloomberg Audio Studios.
Podcasts, radio, news.
Hey, it's Sarah. At Bloomberg, we've got reporters in more than 100 bureaus around the world, including 24 in Asia. And that's where we're going today. Today on The Big Take, I'm handing the mic over to my colleague Juan Ha in Hong Kong. Here's Juan.
We are on Pracharatbumpan Road in downtown Bangkok, where Jeffrey Liu has opened his first hot pot restaurant. He recently immigrated to Thailand from China, and he's still learning how to pronounce the street's name. Locals say the street resembles the belly of a dragon. And for Chinese, that's good feng shui for business because it draws money in. That's why Liu started his restaurant here. And with so many other Chinese businesses moving in, the road is also now known by another name, New China Street.
You know what I mean? Chinatown is old, and our street is full of new Chinese restaurants and stores. You hear Chinese spoken on the street, and it's also close to the Chinese embassy.
Liu is 35 and ambitious. He moved to Thailand late last year, leaving behind his family in Chongqing, one of China's biggest cities. And even though he's just arrived, he's got big plans. He wants to open 3 more hot pot restaurants this year. And he's planning to move his family to Thailand permanently next year.
I had visited Thailand about 8 times before moving here. I like Thailand a lot. There isn't much to miss about China.
Liu is hardly alone in saying farewell to China.
The number of people leaving the country in the past 2 years reached 310,000 for each year.
Lulu Chen is Bloomberg's senior editor on Asia investing.
And that's 60% more than the average for the decade through 2019. What's interesting about this wave is we haven't seen this kind of uptick in net migration for years. And for the past 2 years, suddenly there's a huge uptick compared with the past decade.
Today on our show, a new wave of Chinese are looking for the exit. Why are they leaving? And what does it say about China's future? This is The Big Take from Bloomberg News. I'm Juan Ha. Many Chinese who are leaving at the moment are part of the middle class, a group who've seen their incomes rise along with China's economy in the last 2 decades.
China's rapid economic development overlapped with an era where the Communist Party maintained relatively loose control over private lives. And that was a period when the middle class thought they were better off than their peers, even in the U.S. in some ways.
Thanks to China's economic miracle, pockets of the population became extremely rich. At one point, China was producing billionaires faster than any other country, at the rate of 2 a week in 2017. But that boom started to fade, and the mood shifted. One of the most significant pivots was in 2021, when President Xi Jinping and the Communist Party adopted a policy called Common Prosperity. That was aimed to close the wealth gap and lift the country's poorest.
In comes Xi Jinping for his second term, and he looks at the country and says, wait a minute, China at its core is a communist country, and it needs to go back to its roots. Even though some people get rich, the affluent is still the minority, and that's why he brought in the goal of common prosperity to restore that balance.
That common prosperity policy has spooked investors and many Chinese. The new policy brought crackdowns on multiple industries: technology, property, education, and even gaming.
From today, children in China will only be allowed to play online video games for 3 hours a week.
Crackdown on Ant Group underscores Beijing's determination to rein in big tech.
The government launched a sweeping crackdown on the $100 billion private education industry.
Well, the trickle effect is that When China cracks down on these sectors, it's not just impacting the private companies and the shareholders behind it. It actually impacts real people. Think of all the people who are working up and down the supply chain. So the effect is vast-reaching.
The crackdowns stretched for years. And just as China's middle class was starting to really feel the pinch from the policies, the pandemic struck. And it hit a real nerve.
So one of the people we talked to was a person called Jason Sun, who lived a very good life, very wealthy in Shanghai. Before the COVID lockdowns, he already sent his daughter and wife to London because his daughter was studying there. And for him, he thought that if he stayed away from politics, kept a low profile, he would still have a very good life in China. And then the pandemic hit, and it really broke him when his parents died just weeks apart. And even though he tried everything, he was not allowed to see them for one last time. And he told our colleagues that when he was holding their ashes in his hand, that was the moment when he made up his mind that he was going to leave China. And so a few weeks after that, he sold all his assets and then relocated to London.
Fast forward to today, the China boom is long gone.
The market has been absolutely hammered.
Developers over the years have built way too many houses. If you travel around China, you see half-completed buildings everywhere.
If you look at both the economic and the social problems that China is facing, things are only unfortunately getting worse.
Some $6 trillion in market value has been wiped out from Chinese and Hong Kong stocks since its peak in 2021. Concerns about China's economic future has people like Jeffrey Liu looking elsewhere for opportunities.
After the pandemic, the Chinese economy has been going downhill, and every industry is just so competitive. So I just wanted to explore and have fun.
Coming up after the break, Chinese immigrants leaving and taking their assets with them. What does it mean for an already struggling economy? We've heard the reasons why people are leaving China. You've got a slowing economy, fears over new policies to redistribute wealth, coupled with the trauma of living in China during the pandemic. Lulu says it becomes an exodus of capital as well.
It's $150 billion flowing out of China in 2023 alone, based on estimates from Natixis. Also, Henley Partners, they had reports saying that they estimate China saw the biggest millionaire exodus in 2023 as well.
And the number of Chinese emigrating isn't expected to slow down anytime soon.
Looking forward, it's estimated that at least 700,000 people will leave the country in the years up to 2025.
Those figures put China number 4 on a list of countries with the largest net immigration. Now, Lulu, if you look at that list, which includes third world countries like Pakistan and Bangladesh, China really stands out.
Well, China is the world's second largest economy. It doesn't have any warfare or natural disasters that could cause widespread hunger, famine, and the resurgence of net migration suggests that people are voting with their feet.
So we've got 700,000 people looking for the exit sign. Where are they going?
Well, for the 700,000 people estimate, that's just for US, Australia, and Canada. But based on the interviews we've done and the research that we looked into, they're also showing up in other places that are not typical, like Vietnam, Japan, New Zealand.
And a big draw of these unconventional destinations are the inviting policies and business opportunities. Countries like Portugal, Thailand, and Indonesia are attracting immigrants with so-called golden visas. Those who can invest big chunks of their money in these countries will get full residence or even citizenship in return. While this outflow of people and money is bad news for China, many of the new countries people are flocking to are benefiting from the immigration and investments.
So in Vietnam, for example, it's provided job opportunities, higher wages. Senior managers at factories can earn as much as $65,000 a month, and that's about 16 times the average local wage.
But not all the changes are well received. The influx of Chinese is also creating tension in some places.
In Thailand, it's caused resentment due to rising prices of property, and there's complaints about Chinese disrespecting local customs. Another often heard complaint is that Chinese don't use local suppliers and workers, so the money circles within the Chinese business circle, and it's a very delicate balance, and whenever you have different ethnicities coming into a new community, it's bound to disrupt the balance.
Back in China, while the number of migrants is a drop compared to a population of 1.4 billion people, the emigration reflects a larger concern about China's future.
For the people we interviewed, they are worried that the Chinese middle-class life that they once enjoyed is in danger. The reason that a lot of middle-class Chinese thought that they were better off than their U.S. counterparts was because they had upward social mobility. Their lives were not stagnant, and they always thought that their children would have a better life than theirs. Call it the China dream, if you will. And right now, people are really questioning whether the so-called China dream is sustainable.
This is The Big Take from Bloomberg News. I'm Wan Ha. This episode was produced by Yang Yang and Naomi Ng. The reporters for this story are Patham Sengmawanit, Zheng Li, Wenzu Tuwin, Gwen Wing, Lisa Du, David Scanlon, and Tao Zhang. It was edited by Caitlin Kenny and mixed by Yang Yang and Veronica Rodriguez. It was fact-checked by Tiffany Soy. Senior producers are Naomi Shaven and Gilda DeCarli. We get editorial direction from Elizabeth Ponso. Nicole Beamsterboer is our executive producer. Sage Bauman is Bloomberg's head of podcast. Thanks for listening to The Big Take. We'll be back Monday.